This painting is famous for a scream, but the strangest thing about it is this: the sound may not be coming from the figure at all. Look closely. The mouth is open, yes. The eyes are hollow, yes. The hands press against the sides of the head, but that gesture can mean two opposite things. It can mean, I am screaming, or it can mean, I am trying not to hear something. And this changes everything, because Edvard Munch did not write that he screamed. He wrote that he sensed a scream passing through nature. In other words, the most famous scream in art history might be the scream of the world around him, and the figure may simply be the first person who cannot block it out. At first glance, the scene is almost simple: a bridge, a railing, a burning sky, two people walking away. And in the foreground, a figure so reduced, so pale, so boneless that it barely feels human. It stands in the center, but it does not belong to the bridge, to the city, or even to its own body. Munch gives us very few stable details. The figure has no clear gender, no hair, no firm outline. Is it wearing a black coat, a dress, a shadow? Is the face a human face, or something closer to a skull? Even the body seems to melt downward, as if it has been drained by the same force that twists the sky and water behind it. Now, notice the hands. They are not dramatic in a theatrical way. They are thin, almost childlike, and they press the head with a strange tenderness. This is not a hero performing despair. This is someone trying to survive a sensation. The hands create a barrier, but the barrier is useless. The scream has already entered. The bridge is the only part of the painting that still obeys logic. Its diagonal lines rush into the distance, and the railing cuts the image like a sharp instrument. It gives the scene perspective, order, direction, but this order is fragile. On the other side of the railing, the landscape stops behaving like landscape. The fjord curves like a living thing. The hills bend. The sky rolls in red and orange waves. The whole background seems to vibrate, as if the world itself has become a nervous system. This is why the painting does not simply show fear. It paints fear as an atmosphere. And then there are the two figures in the distance. They are usually easy to ignore, but they are essential. They continue walking. They do not turn around. They do not seem to hear what the central figure hears. In Munch's own description of the experience, he was walking with two friends, and they went on while he stopped, trembling. That detail makes the painting colder. The most terrifying moment here may not be panic. It may be isolation. To understand why Munch could turn a simple evening walk into an image like this, we have to step outside the painting for a moment. Edvard Munch grew up in Christiania, the city we now call Oslo. His childhood was marked by illness, religious severity, and loss. His mother died when he was still a small child. His sister Sophie died when he was a teenager. Again and again, the body, the home, and the family became places where security could suddenly disappear. But Munch was not simply painting autobiography. By the early 1890s, he wanted art to do something more radical than describe appearances. He wanted to paint inner states: love, jealousy, anxiety, loneliness, death. Later, he would gather these themes into what he called the frieze of life. The scream belongs to that world. It is not a portrait of one person. It is a portrait of a condition. The place is real. The view is usually identified with the Christiania fjord, seen from the Ekeberg hill. But Munch transforms this real place until it becomes psychological geography. The city is there, but it is distant. The water is there, but it is unstable. The road is there, but it feels less like a path forward than a ledge. This is one reason the painting feels so modern. Older art often used nature as a stage for human drama. Here, nature is not a stage. Nature is the drama. The sky does not decorate the emotion, it creates it. The red bands above the figure are not realistic sunset clouds in the ordinary sense. They are more like sound waves made visible. Some researchers have tried to explain that sky through real atmospheric events. One theory connects the red light to spectacular sunsets after the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883. Another, more recent interpretation suggests that Munch may have seen nacreous clouds, rare high-altitude clouds that can appear in southern Norway with intense, strange colors. These are interesting possibilities, but even if a real sky gave Munch the first shock, the painting is not meteorology. It is memory transformed by anxiety. There is another possible source that has fascinated art historians: the face. In 1978, Robert Rosenblum suggested that the skull-like figure might have been influenced by a Peruvian mummy Munch could have seen in Paris. The resemblance is striking: the hollow head, the open mouth, the hands near the face. But this remains a theory, not a certainty. The important point is not whether Munch copied a mummy. It is that he created a figure caught somewhere between the living and the dead, between person and symbol. The story becomes even stranger when we look at what came before the scream. In 1892, Munch painted a related work, often known as Despair. The composition is almost the same: the road, the fjord, the fiery sky, the two figures behind. But the main figure is different. In Despair, we see a more recognizable man turned away, wearing a hat. In the Scream, that man has been stripped of identity and forced to face us. That change is the key. The earlier image lets us observe someone's despair. The Scream does not. It turns the figure toward the viewer, and suddenly we are no longer spectators. We are confronted. The face becomes a mirror, but not a normal mirror. It reflects something we usually keep hidden: the moment when the world becomes too loud. And then there is the tiny sentence, almost invisible, written in pencil in the upper left of the 1893 version. Can only have been painted by a madman. For many years, people argued about whether this was vandalism or Munch's own hand. Infrared photography and handwriting analysis have now strongly supported the conclusion that Munch wrote it himself. This detail matters because it changes the painting again. It suggests that the Scream was not only an image of anxiety, but also an image caught in the public debate around mental illness and artistic sensitivity. Munch had been mocked and criticized. Instead of erasing the insult, he appears to have placed it on the painting, almost like a wound and a signature at the same time. There are several versions of the Scream: 2 paintings, 2 colorful works in pastel or crayon, and a lithograph that allowed the image to circulate more widely. That repetition tells us something important. Munch did not treat the motif as a single accident. He returned to it, tested it, translated it into different materials. It was not just a scene he remembered. It was an image he could not finish hearing. Even the material of the painting contributes to its unease. Munch worked on cardboard with fragile layers of color. Today, conservators study the yellows and reds because some pigments have changed over time. In a strange way, the painting itself is vulnerable. The image of anxiety is also an anxious object, physically sensitive to humidity, light, and time. So, what are we really seeing? A panic attack? A memory of sunset? A symbol of modern alienation? A response to grief? A scream from nature? None of these interpretations cancels the others. The power of the painting comes from the way they overlap. Munch made an image simple enough for anyone to recognize, and deep enough that it refuses to settle into one meaning. That may be why the Scream became more than a painting. It became an icon of the modern world, a face for a feeling people did not always have words for. The figure is alone, but the emotion is collective. It is private terror made public. It is silence turned into color. At the beginning, we asked where the Scream is coming from: the figure's mouth, the sky, the fjord, the city? Maybe the answer is that Munch painted the instant when the boundary between inside and outside collapses. The world screams, the body hears it, and the image freezes that impossible second. And perhaps this is why the quietest scream is still the loudest one. because no sound comes out of the canvas. The scream happens somewhere else in the space between the painting and the person looking at it. So what do you think? Is this figure screaming at the world or protecting itself from a scream already moving through nature? And which detail in the painting makes you feel that most strongly?